And welcome in, joining Candy and I this morning. We're going to have all information from Farmers Electric. It is Thom Moore. Top of the morning, Thom.
Good morning, Rick. Candy, thank you for having me.
How are you doing today, sir?
Wonderful.
Well, we appreciate you joining us and for being so kind to stick around and tell us about energy efficiency and about how important that is and some great savings for the folks that are working with Farmers Electric.
Well, Rick, it's important for a number of reasons. The family budget is important to keep that in check, and by offering our members, our consumers, incentive to go a little more energy efficient, maybe and perhaps they'll save a little bit in their monthly electric bill. And won't feel the crunch so much when it comes time to pay that bill. So we have a lot of things we offer. Similar, actually, programs to what the in-town folks that are customers of Xcel Energy, formerly SPS, have available to them. Ours might actually be a little more expansive than theirs, and I'd love to go over a few of these.
Well, let's do it. Certainly. In fact, I know what you're offering. As I have service in town, live in the city of Clovis, and there are opportunities for folks to do energy upgrades that make good sense, I understand. And sometimes you're right on the edge of the program. You know, it's one of those where you have an evaporative cooler, but it has to be this efficiency. Or it's one where it has to be a new model that meets a certain whatever level. And you might install a new furnace, but it's not quite energy efficient enough. It's funny how these things work.
Exactly. Rick, ours is written in a way that off-the-shelf stuff typically will not qualify. So the incentive is to go even more energy efficient.
I understand, sure.
For instance, water heaters. Water heaters' efficiency are measured in energy factor, or EF, and it's a percentage. So it's basically their percentage of efficiency. Typical off-the-shelf electric is 90% or 90 EF. What we look for is a 94% efficient or 94 EF or greater. And
in other words, extra efficient.
Exactly. I mean, it's gonna, if you go with a 94, you're going to find that you're going to have a longer parts warranty, a longer labor warranty, because they're using better parts, more insulation. Therefore, it's going to work it's not going to have to work as hard, and in the end, it's going to save you money. Because what we do is we level the playing field between that off-the-shelf product and the more energy-efficient product by offering these incentives for electric water heaters that are 94% energy factor or higher. We offer a $150 cashback rebate.
And I see you got them in just about every size you can think of: 15, 20, 30, 40, 50. 50 short height, 75, 85, even 105 gallons. I got to think that's going to cover anybody's needs.
It does, and we do sell a Marathon water heater. It's named Marathon because they go forever and ever and ever. For all intents and purposes, Marathon water heater is the last water heater you ever purchase.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, the reason being is they're constructed out of plastic. And Marathon doesn't like us to use plastic, the word plastic. They prefer polybutylene or polyethylene.
Sure, which describes some hard plastic.
That's right. That's right. But it's one of those $10,000 words.
Right.
They are actually blow molded polybutylene inner tank. And the nice thing about these is they don't have anything to rust. And they don't drip. There's no drips, no rust, no worries with the Marathon water heater.
You know, the thing that strikes me just as a homeowner, if you have water heater problems, and sooner or later everyone will, it's always great to have the idea that you're not going to have those problems. You're not going to have that water mess on the floor, because once a water heater starts to leak, you can't get rid of it fast enough.
That is true.
It's already too late.
Or our old metal ones that the bottom would rust out.
Exactly.
And then just fall out, and
Yes.
you had all that.
Oh, you had a real mess.
You can go on vacation and rest assured you're not going to come back to a flood.
With this. Yeah, exactly.
Your neighbor that's taking care of your house isn't going to call and say, "Hey, you have a massive leak from your water heater, and hey, what do we need to do?" And and those things that when that happens, it always seems like the worst
inconvenient
time.
And there is no good time.
That's right.
Well, now we mentioned water heaters. Obviously, that's a huge energy demand for every home. But the biggest single thing always seems to come back to heat. It seems like that's what burns up those kilowatts.
Heating is and air conditioning is probably the largest part of your bill. 40 to 45% of your bill, is electric bill or gas bill for that matter, goes to heating and air conditioning. Well, gas on the heating side anyway. But we do have an incentive for energy efficiency heat pumps, and that would be typically off the shelf. And these are measured. Heat pumps are measured in SEER. SEER, Seasonal Energy Efficiency Ratio, is what that stands for. And the industry and the Department of Energy set those numbers. Off the shelf, minimum right now is 13. So if you go into a contractor and you don't specify that you really want a more energy efficient system, they will probably sell you a SEER 13. What we ask our members to do is go 1 point higher, a 14 SEER or greater, and they would qualify for a $500 cash back rebate. And in most circumstances or instances, that extra $500 that we give them will offset the difference between a 13 and a 14 or even higher SEER.
Well, when I see a geothermal heat pump offering $4,000 to help with that, that's huge.
Geothermal is just kind of it's an old technology, but it's making its way into this area. Geo meaning ground. We use actually the ground as the condensing unit. When you install a geothermal system, you don't have any outside equipment.
Right.
Okay. All the equipment is actually either in the ground in the form of water and heat for heat and cool exchange in pipes, or it's in your garage or attic, the actual mechanical equipment. It is the most quiet. And because of that, there's no exposure to weather. And these systems typically last 20 years or better before you have to even consider doing something different. But geothermal, it is expensive. But right now, there's no better time to go geothermal. Say, for instance, it's a turnkey for geothermal is $25,000. Well, guess what? Within that first month, we rebate $4,000. So now you're down to $21,000. Then we also, what's also available right now is a 30% tax credit. Now that's a dollar for dollar credit, not a deduction on your state taxes and your federal taxes. So we have a 60% tax credit, dollar for dollar. This is after you've figured all your tax.
And the truth is, you better do it before the end of the year, because you don't know what next year is going to bring.
Exactly.
You never know what the government's going to do next year. And while they've got this in place, it's time to make it happen.
It is. To think that you're going to get 60% of your initial investment back within the first year if you have that type of tax obligation. If you don't have that type of tax obligation, guess what? They'll carry it over for the next several years, up to 6 years, I believe.
Wow.
For both states, if you need it. Rick, you probably just absorb it right, that first year, with the kind of money you guys make here at the radio station. But,
Thom, who are you talking about? Is there another Rick standing behind me? I don't think so.
But no, typically a geothermal unit, not only if you have a de-superheater, which is tied into the water heater, you can get free hot water from that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so your elements may never even fire up on your water tank. Another advantage, is a big advantage, is for geothermal, it costs approximately 50% of what it would cost your best heat pump to cool and heat your home. Mm-hmm. So extraordinary savings. Mm-hmm.
Well, now, one of the things, too, we want to mention while we're on here this morning, visiting with Thom again from Farmers Electric, adding insulation. That can add, you can offer $500 to help someone add insulation to their home, and what a great idea.
If you're not going to do anything else to your home, adding insulation in the attic is the thing you should do. Right now, we offer $500 cashback rebate on any member bringing their home to an R30 or greater. R is a measure of thermal resistance, and typically for every 1 inch of insulation, no matter what kind it is approximately a 3R value.
Wow.
So if you have 10 inches of insulation in your attic, you're probably right around an R30.
It seems like most people that I know that have attic insulation had it insulated right for a different time.
That's
when
right.
the numbers were like 5-6 inches was right. Well, the truth is now we know that more inches is simply better, and 5 or 6 wasn't enough to reach the level of necessary what we're trying to achieve here.
Rick, it's a lot like covering up with one blanket, and you still might be cold. You throw another blanket on there, and that's that extra depth, and you're comfortable.
You bet.
And insulation is so important, and we offer our members $500 for any of those members bringing their insulation in the attic to R30. So. And the insulation helps regardless of what season it is. Okay, but here we're getting into the winter season, and this is the best time to do this. But it's all about heat loss or heat gain. So in the summer, the insulation keeps you insulated from the heat gain from the sun. An attic can reach upwards of 120 degrees in the hottest part of the summer. And then, the attic is either the hottest or the coldest place in your house.
Right.
But in the course of the wintertime, when the cold air is bearing down on the roof and the attic, it helps keep you nice and cozy the more insulation you have in the attic.
Well, now, I do want to mention hybrid heat pump water heater, a $500 for those retrofits. But let's talk, too, about new construction. And there's so much new construction going on. Good time to mention that new homes with heat pumps qualify for a $1,250 return.
Yes, that's total home excluding geothermal. Of course, if you went with geothermal, we would add that $4,000 on top of that. But if you built a new home and qualified with the electric water heater minimum guidelines, the heat pump minimum guidelines, and the insulation, you would qualify for $1,250 back. Now, we have a lot of members call or ask me in the early process, will that be a credit on our bill? No, it is cash. We write you a check. It's a good investment on our part. Nice. Because the lower we can keep electric bills, the less demand on our system, if you will.
And it keeps those peak demand periods down, too.
I'm glad you understand that, because that is...
we did peak alerts for many years back in the Midwest because as those daytime temperatures would rise, in the summer, high humidity, everyone air conditioning, there were hours you just had to avoid using things such as your kitchen stove, oven, things of that sort, because the demand was too great, or it could bring everything down. There are demand limits anywhere.
We are in really good shape. Our wholesale power company, actually we're getting power from 2 different companies right now. We're in a transition period, but SPS, we have been partnered with them on our wholesale side for 75 years since the beginning. And we are transitioning away from them. Unfortunately, this transition period is going to take us through 2027, and then we'll be a full all requirements customer of Western Farmers Electric Cooperative instead of an investor-owned G&T or Generation and Transmission Company. We're going with another co-op. It's a co-op G&T. They're based out of Anadarko, Oklahoma. It's not going to affect our rates negatively. We're going to stay right there and keep this playing field nice and level for our members. And but you're right, demand in the summer particularly, and we do peak in the summer because of all the irrigation we have, and irrigation is down a little bit this year, and that's great for our area farmers. Not so good for Farmers Electric, but we don't mind. We're fine because we're not buying that power.
Right.
And about 60 cents of every dollar that we collect from our members goes to the purchase of power. So yeah. But when Farmers Electric has a banner year, it's not such a good thing for our area farmers and dairies because they're spending a lot, obviously, on the shortfalls of the rain. But we've had great rain this year, and we're trying to catch up, so that's a good thing. But if we can lower the demand, that will keep our wholesale power companies from having to build more capacity. And the capacity is far more expensive than these small little rebate programs that we have in the aggregate. Because we're not the only company or electric company or co-op that offers these rebates. Co-ops statewide offer similar programs. So.
Well, there's no question. Farmers Co-op is a great example of obviously locally owned cooperative. And, I love that. I think that's the thing that makes this such a special thing, the relationship that your business has with all of its members. They're the owners. It's kind of a unique place.
They are. We have an open door policy. We have annual meetings. We love input from our members. We love to get a letter, phone calls. We'll buy you a cup of coffee if you come in and sit down and talk to us. I love the co-op business model.
I do too.
It was, you know, I've been with farmers for 14 years, and it was actually my first exposure to co-ops and cooperatives and that business model. But I think it's a neat deal. And when you have your member or consumer, you know, actually have some say and benefit at one time a year from capital credit payments.
I still enjoy mine from back in the Midwest. I'm just working into a whole nother set of credits right now. Wow, they're sending me cash. How good is that?
Now, how many out there in the radio audience actually get a check back from their utility? You know, our members do, and have for many years. And that's part. You know, we lend that to, you know, good management. I hate to brag on us that much, but we're stewards of our members' money. And I'm reminded occasionally that every dollar that leaves the co-op is our members' money. So, you know, some may look at me and say, you know, he's so tight, he squeaks when he walks. Well, that may be because it's not my money. And when I appreciate free radio time like this, it's fantastic that you offer this to the community, and I appreciate you having me here today for sure.
Well, it's a given. We have Thom Moore joining us today, Director of the Member Services, and one of the folks that can tell you all about the energy rebate programs with Farmers Electric. Thom, how can they reach you?
Well, they can call me there at the office. It's area code 575-762-4466. That's 762-4466. Ask for me. They won't screen your call. I take all my calls unscreened. It's just that's just the way I do business. And they could email me at Thom, and the spelling on my name is a little differently. It's THOM at FECNM.org. Thom at FECNM.org.
And I see
they can stop up on Llano Estacado and see you folks anytime. There's always people around to answer questions.
Right.
And
That's
a lot
right.
of times you can even find Thom there. A lot of times.
I'm usually there.
You're usually there.
But we are at the corner of Llano Estacado and Thornton. We actually have a Thornton address. It's 3701 North Thornton in Clovis, right across just north of Berry Elementary School, just south of the new Gaddis Middle School. We actually serve that school. And by the way, that's the most energy efficient school in the state.
How
of New
cool is
Mexico.
that?
Amazing.
Yep, that's for sure. And even have an 800 number. You can call toll free 800-445-8541 for those folks at a distance too.
That's it.
Perfect. Thom, thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Rick and Candy. Appreciate you having me.
Well, we always look forward to it.